So my one take for this morning, man, uh, leave it up to TikTok to always get me involved in something. So everybody is over here asking for either a reboot, update, or, overall new concept of the video game Def Jam Fight for New York. Let me tell you something. That game on the PS2 was the game. I'm not going to hold you. When I got that game, I played all 67 characters. That was more characters in the video game at that time. And a lot of the characters that was in the game was, of course, hip-hop artists. It was a lot of them. At that pinnacle, at that moment, at that era, at that time, hip-hop was at the echelon. Hip-hop, in my opinion, back in the day, was good hip-hop. The hip-hop of the day, I don't know. And to be honest, even if they do come back with a reboot, remake, update, or anything like that, would you be interested in playing as a fighting character of today's hip-hop artists? Maybe I could probably name a few because of the rap battle that's going on between Drake and Kendrick Lamar. That might be a little bit interesting, but on a for real, the rest of the cast of hip hop artists, I don't know. But Def Jam, I mean, it wasn't even online. Like at the time, online wasn't a thing yet. But imagine if Def Jam was online at the time. I mean, the blazing, the specials, the people that was involved with it. And let's not hold back, because Ice-T said recently that he wasn't paid to be in Def Jam Fight for New York. And to be honest with you, I don't think, maybe some of the heavy hitters at the time either wasn't paid as much or paid at all, because they all wanted to be a part of the game. That's all. Somebody came up with the concept of the first Def Jam. That game went over well. Had a few hip hop artists from the Def Jam roster. So somebody was like, "Hey, that was a high game. Let's come back. Let's make it bigger. Let's make it." The storyline of Def Jam Fight for New York was awesome. And bro, listen, they went all the way over to the West Coast to get Snoop Dogg to play the villain in this game. I mean, look this way, man. The East Coast, West Coast beef was going on in that game before East Coast, West Coast beef became a thing. And everybody that was in the game that was on the Def Jam roster, they even went outside of the roster of Def Jam to get other artists to participate in this game. They even had celebrities to participate in this game. Of course, Machete was part of it. Hank was part of it. I think his name was Hank or something like that. I don't know. But the time was either on Pinnacle or they was on track. You had people like Baby Chris, David Banner, Bless, Bone Crusher. You had Bubba Sparks, Capone, Comp, D-Mob, Eric Sermon, Flavor Flav, Busta Rhymes, Freeway, Carmen Electra. Is she still relevant right now? Crazy Lays, the dude from the New York breakdancing crew. Freeway, Ghostface, Henry Rollins, that's his name. Elephant Man, Family. Where you at, guy? Joe Budden podcast. He was in the game. Kimora Lee Simmons. Why she was in the game? I thought about that back in the day when I was playing the game, and I'm sitting here like, why are you in the game? Fat Joe, Havoc, Ice-T, Little Kim, Ludacris, Memphis Bleak, Method Man, Mac 10, Little Flip. I Can Do That. Remember Little Flip? He wasn't. Was Little Flip on? Little Flip wasn't even on Def Jam, and he came out with a one-hit wonder and made it into the game. He made it into the game. Mr. I Can Do That made it into the game. Omar Epps, Method Man, Nori, Redman, Prodigy, Sean Paul, Shawana. Remember her? That was Ludacris's one and done. She made a one hit. Majority of these guys that was in here, like Shauna, Family, Baby Chris, those dudes was like one hit wonders at the time. But they was all part of this game. Scarface, Sticky Fingers, WC, Sean Paul, Slick Rick, Snoop Dogg, all of them did not get paid. At least Ice-T said he was one of the people that did not get paid for Def Jam. But again, like he said, it was just he wanted to be a part of that. And now when you think about it, now that you look at it, Def Jam Fight for New York is an iconic classic game. I mean, they really went out and took their time to put this game together. They came up with a good story from front to end. This is one of the games that you will want to play the storyline first before you will actually go and play one-on-one. Again, imagine if this was online, though. This game wasn't even online at the time, man. Imagine if it was. I think Def Jam Fight for New York would be in the upper echelon of Mortal Kombat right now. And that's if they would have stayed with the formula, because Def Jam, the next one, was just total garbage. I'm here to tell you. Def Jam, Icons, or whatever, that game was garbage. They went out of the way to make a good game that was on par to be a super duper classic, and just took everything that Def Jam Fight for New York was, and then just turned this shit all the way around, flipped it on his head, and just gave a big F you to all of us that was fans of that game at the time. I mean, Icons was just, it had some characters, but the fighting mechanism in that game wasn't there. In the midst of a fight, here's the fighting mechanism, right? So in the midst of the fight, you throwing hands, y'all fighting and all like that. You got the music playing in the background. All of a sudden, you're gonna stop mid-fight just to do a DJ hand scratch to change the beat of the music so you could change the beat of the fighting flow. Really? I'm in a UFC match. I'm getting rocked and all like that. Hey, dude, hold up my guy. Let me do a hand scratch right quick so I can change the beat so I can come back and get the upper hand. That was the Def Jam. That was that. I want to change the beat up so I can get the upper hand. No, it wasn't none of that in Def Jam Fight for New York. Def Jam Fight for New York was straight up storyline, straight up fighting mechanism. Just overall a great game to play. And I mean, I played that game just about every day. It was one of my most go-to games back in the 2000s. So again, do I want a reboot of Def Jam Fight for New York? or another Def Jam game, let's think about this. Is Def Jam is relevant right now? Who's on the Def Jam roster right now? That's of interest. Interest. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. Who's on the roster right now on Def Jam? Yeah, right. Exactly. I can't think of nobody either. I can't think of nobody either. And the people that was in this game back in the day, would they be interested to come back and do another game like this today? Especially where they at? Yeah, how you gonna go to LL Cool J? You know, he's like a superstar right now. And all like that, but like, hey, we want you to come and do a fighting game for Def Jam, Fight for New York. Oh no, I'm cool. I pass. Hey, Will Smith, we got an opening for Def Jam, Fight for New York. Nah, I'm good. I'm good. Method Man, Redman, you guys was like the pinnacle of Def Jam. Would you guys like to come back and do it? Nah, we're good. So who they gonna turn to? They gonna turn to today's crop of hip hop artists. I mean, the only two artists that will probably be relevant in the game will probably be Kendrick Lamar and Drake. That's about it. I mean, who else? Who else? And I would like to know who else in the comments below. Let me know if they was to make another Def Jam fighting game, either Fight for New York or Fight for West Coast. Who would you like to see in it? Because 67 characters with all those names that I mentioned back in the day, I don't know if they can even come close. All right. Also, I have another topic of discussion. Me and my co-driver will be talking about it a little bit later on. A lot of crazy stuff been going on in the world. And I'm glad that you guys, come over here to me to, listen to, my commentary on different types of subjects. Again, I'm just going to let you guys know I appreciate all the followers, all the subscribers, as this is not a trucking channel, even though we talk trucks over here. But I do appreciate it very, very, very much. All right, guys, you guys take it easy. That is my one take for today. Come again tomorrow for another one take.